We all go a little mad sometimes.
Get you.
You are under destiny.
Here's Johnny.
Hello and welcome back to the Horror Hour, the show where we discuss, debate and disagree on all things horror. I am your host, George, and today, of course, I'm joined by my fellow co-host, Yutaka. Hello.
Hello.
And today we are going to be reviewing the new Paranormal Activity movie, Paranormal Activity Next of Kin. I don't know how we want to do this. Maybe I should go first, or would you like to go first, Yutaka?
Oh, well, I'll let you go first on this one.
Okay. So, as many of you will have been aware over the course of our podcast so far, I have made a distinct knowledge to everybody that I am the only person in the world that thoroughly enjoyed the Paranormal Activity franchise, minus the last film, Ghost Dimension. And so, when this trailer came out, and of course we reacted to the trailer, you can check that out. That will be on our channel. I was interested to see what they were going to do, whether this was going to be a reboot or whether they were going to continue the story. Obviously, with the last one, I mean, I don't want to give too much away in case people haven't seen all of these films and are planning on, but they the last one was supposed to be the ending, but it did a really terrible job, which is why I was annoyed with it. So I was like, maybe they're going to continue this story. I don't know. So thank you, by the way, first of all, to Paramount for giving us a screener for this film. I have to say that first off. I was very excited to watch this yesterday. I was like, oh my God, I cannot believe I'm after, 2015 did the last one come out? Like 5 or 6 years. I'm so excited to be able to see another Paranormal Activity film. Then I watched the film. First of all, this is not a Paranormal Activity film. You can all chat about let's reboot the franchise. This isn't even a read. This is just like, they had a script and they said, let's attach the name Paranormal Activity to it. This film should have just been called Next of Kin. Okay. I really love a lot, well, pretty much all of Christopher Landon's work, but I'm afraid this one just let it down, unfortunately, for me, because he's done all the other scripts he's done for the previous Paranormal Activity films, I have loved. I don't know if it was not necessarily the script for this, but the whole thing as a package just didn't do it for me. First of all, the way it was shot, either make it a found footage film or make it a film that's just a normal film, because at times I was really confused if this was in found footage style, because the camera was it was like 4K ultra wide lens that just, and I know we've moved with the times, but it just looked weird, because at times I felt like they were recording it like a normal film, and then it was like the camera was like doing some crazy artistic moves, and I was like, oh wait, this is found footage. Sorry.
Well, didn't they have a GoPro? I thought, no.
Well,
Wasn't
they
that
did.
part, like they like I felt like sometimes it was switching back and forth, which I didn't like, by the way.
There was a lot of switching. And also what I found is a lot of the time there was switching, and maybe I need to go back and watch it again, but I felt like there was times it switched to another angle. And then when it switched to the angle where you could see that angle, there wasn't a camera or anything. There wasn't like the other person. So like they had one, I think she was going down a hill or something, and she had a camera and one was on her leg. And then it was, you looked at her leg and she didn't have a GoPro on her leg. And I was like, I don't understand. And then they added in the sound effects, like it's just supposed to be a documentary. Like, when something big happened, it would be like boom, or they had like music occasionally in the background. Like, and it was just odd. And I'm really sad because I was so excited for this, and I thought, do you know what? Maybe they can reboot this series. Maybe it's because I hold a flame to the original characters, and that's so sad because people are like Paranormal Activity. Like, how can you like that? I mean, I understand it's not a story. Well, I mean, it is, but to a lot of people, it wouldn't. The franchise, you wouldn't think Paranormal Activity is this story-driven series. But to me, I don't know what it was. I resonated with them all, and I really loved them. So I think it took me out that this was a reboot. I just think maybe we don't reboot it, because for me, if you reboot Halloween, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, you have the same people in that series. This is just another this could just be called Next of Kin. It doesn't have to be Paranormal Activity. It didn't need to be found footage. I don't know who edited it all together. The difference with Paranormal Activity, the original series, it is one camera, and it's like, oh, you can imagine somebody got all the tapes of this one camera. This one, we had GoPros, we had laptops, we had cameras, we had the camera in at the end in the police car. Who sat there and edited all this? If this is supposed to be found footage, maybe I'm looking too far into it. Yutaka, I'm going to let you speak. I know I've just chatted. At the end of the day, I was really disappointed in this film. It was nothing like I expected. The story was all right. The ending, I was kind of like, there was some good bits in it, but it was just, it was just nothing. It was just the fact that they added the same font for the dates as they do in the original series, that they were trying to like, oh, look, it's still Paranormal Activity because they've still got that Word document font that's telling the dates. Like, no, this is a different film. Fine, do a different series that is based on different demonic presences or whatever. Go for it, but it's not Paranormal Activity. So anyway, Yutaka, what were your thoughts on this? And did you expect me to react like that?
I'm actually kind of shocked because I joked that you would probably love this film. I did not like this film, and the reason being is George has recently gotten me to to watch the series, because I have actually never seen any of the paranormal activities up until now. I'm still not finished with the series. I'll still continue. We're going to hit some road bumps, but I still enjoy the story, though. I think that's one of the biggest things about the series is the story, and also that the mystery. Like this one, you clearly, like, I think this one just went off the rails. And I think that may have been part of it, though, because this one, I wasn't invested in these characters, or I didn't feel like there was no building up with these characters. And honestly, that ending was, without giving things away, it just became like a real film versus found footage. And I will say, I did love some of the gory deaths, which is not something that you see in Paranormal Activity. And so that was fun. I enjoyed that. I was like, well, that's a good shock. I like that. But I thought for most of it, I was bored.
Yeah, I was.
I think the original Paranormal Activities are great because the moment they start, you are just hooked story-wise. This one, I don't even remember the characters' names. That's how it's just not that memorable to me. I like that they were trying to give it a fresh take, bring it up to modern times, even though they took it to, Amish country, which that I kind of was like, okay, that was a good twist in terms of how are they going to make it to where, oh my gosh, I'm going to either call the cops or, so that was good because truthfully, and I did like some of the jokes are like, we do go to Walmart. That made me laugh. So I don't know. I had actual hopes, but I agree with George. I don't believe this was any type. It didn't feel like a Paranormal Activity film. But I'm a huge fan of Christopher Landon, so that's why I'm just a little bummed because he's written some of the best Paranormal Activities and just some of my favorite films in general. So I was a little let down. I will also say I think Paranormal Activity in general benefits when it's a smaller cast.
Yes.
I think there was too much cast, and that's why it wasn't cohesive, and I didn't connect with the characters at all because we didn't get that same amount of time. So
it was like, it felt a bit like, to me, in a sense, like the Scary Movie franchise, where they try and compile several films together, and to me, they were compiling like supposedly Paranormal Activity with Midsummer, with The Village, with like The Descent, like all these, like all
yeah.
these, the Ring, like it was like all this stuff. I was just like, there's
There
too
was
much
a
going
lot
on.
thrown in.
And like what you said, I understand they were trying to make this big film. Like you said, with a small cast, I agree. And to me, Paranormal Activity feels better with a smaller cast. And to be honest, a smaller budget. You do not need, all you need is the CGI for the occasional being dragged down the stairs or whatever. But like most of it is sound effects. With this, there was nothing. I think what I like about Paranormal Activity, or I did, and a lot of people do, is like you said, you kind of get invested in the story, but as soon as that camera fades and says night 2, you're like, oh shit, what's coming? But this didn't have any of that. It just had the date, and it wasn't like specifically set. I mean, there was a lot that was set at night, but it wasn't really set around then. And because it wasn't like a static camera, which a lot of the other ones always had at least one static camera somewhere, this was like just handheld all the time. It just, it didn't feel the same. And like I know we're saying about, you've got to move with the times, but I don't think anything about the Paranormal Activity films towards the end was anything to do with it needed to move with the times. I just felt some people, the story got a bit too muddled towards the end of the Paranormal Activity films, and a lot was happening. But as I've said, apart from the last film, to me, you might think they're boring because I understand, and Yutaka was saying about this because we watched like 1, 2, and 3 like a day after the other. It's quite difficult to watch a slow burn film on slow film. So I get that. But this was like nothing. Like you wouldn't know this had anything to do with like anything demony or devilly until like the last 20 minutes, because there's nothing really happens. Like every night in the original Planet 2 films, something would happen and the noise would come in. You'd be like, oh, and something, there'd be a noise, and it would keep you going. What's going to happen next? With this, literally, they were just chatting for an hour of the film, and then the last, and they were like, oh, look, here's this. And obviously, we don't want to spoil it because we want to watch it. And I would suggest watching it. Maybe you might like this film. You might really like this film. And please let us know in the comments below if you did like it and what you thought of it, and why you liked it. What was it that grabbed you about it? Do you think this is worthy of being a Paranormal Activity film, or should they have just created a new series? And this could have just been called, like I said, Next of Kin. It would have made sense, and then you could have gone on with that.
Absolutely.
So let us know in the comments below.
I'm with George on that. I think attaching the name Paranormal Activity kind of already gave us some standards, unfortunately, and I don't think it was needed, because if this wasn't a Paranormal Activity film, I probably wouldn't have been so harsh on my critiques in terms of the way I viewed it, and as I was watching it, be like, oh my gosh, and rolling my eyes, and because I'll be honest, that last 20 minutes though, it was fun, but it has nothing to do like a normal Paranormal Activity. So that's why I was just like, okay. I mean, I'm enjoying this, but like, this is not what I hate to, it's not what I signed up for, but that's okay. No. Because again, comment down below. You could like it. It just was not a film for me. And I, again, will say thank you, though, to Paramount for the screener. And I still think people should see it because, again, this is just our take. You could end up loving it. But I'm with George. It didn't need the Paranormal Activity name. I almost feel like it's attached to kind of help the film, but I think it may have ended up hurting the film.
I 100% agree. I just think there's enough films in the Paranormal Activity franchise anyway. And with the last one being met, you didn't need to reboot. Unfortunately, like Game of Thrones, the ending was a bit, but you thought, do you know what? There was some good bits at the beginning and you can kind of appreciate it. But now, so what happens now with this series? Well, here you go. This is a question for you, Tak, and obviously everyone can let their own thoughts in the comments below. Do you think this will continue a series? Obviously, the ending kind of left an ambiguous sort of, there could be more. Do you think they will? Or, I mean, I suppose it's too easy. Well, I suppose I have to wait until they all...
I think it depends on the success, honestly. Do people stream it? I mean, it's very... I think it's incredibly smart to put it on Paramount Plus at this point. I think with the Halloween weekend... Honestly, I foresee Halloween kind of taking the box office again, or at least
Mhm.
getting close to it. So I don't think this would have succeeded. So I think it's a good move for Paramount Plus. And I think it only helps kind of boost the platform. So if it does very well, I could easily see another project.
Mhm.
And I kind of hope, like you, George, they don't need a big budget on these films. That's part of that was one of I think that was one of the things I liked about those films because again, not only do the actors get really invested into it, I mean, they put so much into the story and so much into just you don't even need this big set production. That's why I was just like, I'm like, this is in again, not to knock the film because I know they want to up with the time, get up with the times, or but that's one of the allures of Paranormal Activity.
Yeah.
Low budget, great cast. I mean, the cast in those films have been great. Decent, if not good at, I like the acting.
Mhm.
And the story was like its biggest selling point. And I think that's rare sometimes in horror films. And so I shouldn't say it's rare in horror films. I should say it's rare in horror franchises that it can be consistent.
Yeah, I agree. So look, I mean, I think people will watch it. I think it is one to watch this weekend if you're just like, oh,
Absolutely.
let's have something on one evening. I don't know if I'd have it as my Halloween evening movie, but maybe, I would definitely watch it over the weekend to see what you think. I would probably watch this film again. Maybe because I wasn't expecting it to be this. And I think throughout, my issue was I was really hoping that like Katie would show up somewhere. I was like, I just want one of these characters to show up. I was like, oh my God, what if the mum is Katie? What if like I just all this stuff? I was like, what if this is related to the grandma cult, the midwives, like all this stuff. I was like I was but so maybe that was my issue. And again, because it was attached to the Paranormal Activity franchise, I was really hoping for a nod to this. And so
I'm with you on that, George.
maybe on a second watch, maybe now I know what it is, I can enjoy it for what it is. But I just think they tried too hard. Again, we didn't need drones. We didn't need all of this stuff. Like it was just all they were trying to do several different things. Like we know what found footage is at this point. People have done drones now. All these things have still been done. So I don't know.
I mean, let's put it this way. If you think about found footage, what's a recent found footage film we saw that took us back to the 90s? Just saying, you can still do found footage effectively.
Yeah, you can. And I think as well, that's what I mean. And they were done, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, it's VHS 94, which is available on Shudder now to stream. And that film had a good budget and it was still shot in a way that made it feel more real. With this, the problem was, as I say, my main issue was I couldn't get over why this film was shot like it was made for IMAX or something. Like it was like long and like 4K and like every detail. And I was like, this isn't scary. The whole thing about Paranormal Activity is the cameras are supposed to be a little shit. And you're like, oh, hang on. Did I just see something in the corner? Is it a glitch? Like what's going on? You didn't get this, unfortunately. And sorry, spoiler alert, there was no dragging scene like there is in the others, which became a staple for a lot of those films.
There were some scenes and I like those, to be honest. The one thing I didn't like, I do want to make this before we wrap up. There was no need for slow motion.
Oh, they were like, as soon as they introduced that, I was like, oh, for God's sake.
That was, to me, I was like, what? No, I was like, you lost me on this one. You guys, I was like, I was enjoying this. And then they did that. I'm like,
and you just like, you should have just made it a normal film and you could have had all these aspects in it then. But instead, you wanted to call it Paranormal Activity. You're like, oh, let's make it found footage and call it Paranormal Activity so that maybe people will watch it more, because none of that film needed to be. There was nothing at all. So, hey, but as we've said before, let us know in the comments below. If you're going to watch this weekend, let us know. Would you watch it? Are you glad that it's on Paramount Plus, or would you I don't know. I don't know if this would have made a difference in the cinema. Yutaka,
It
you were
could've.
talking about watching those original films and saying you could see how they would have been dramatic in the theater. Maybe this would have been the same. I don't know.
Ooh, that's true. I'd have to think about. I probably will have to watch this a second time because, to be honest, as I was watching this, I didn't get that feeling. Like to
No.
where, like that's why I appreciate the original Paranormal Activities. I really wish I would have saw those in theaters because I could see how really effective those would have been in that setting. I'm not sure I can say the same for this one because I don't feel that I got that. I'm gonna have to rewatch it. Who knows? Maybe I'll like it on a second. Knowing now what I know, maybe I'll like it on a second time.
Yeah, I mean they tried. Let's see what happens. I maybe would watch. I would watch this again, and maybe if they were to continue this story, I would like to maybe see it. I would be interested to see where they went and if they continued it in this way, or if maybe let's see what the critics and the audience say when this comes out. I'm really interested to see what people say because people who didn't like Paranormal Activity originally, I don't think they'll be on board with this film. And I think a lot of the people like myself who enjoyed the series and the story are going to be like, what the F is this? So I don't know. Let's see. I mean, it's Jason Blum. Can he pull it out of the park? We'll find out. As we said before, let us know in the comments below what you thought of it if you've watched it already. And are you excited? Would you like to see more of this? I think is the only thing left we can say. We'll watch it again. But yeah, I don't know. For me, it missed the mark, unfortunately. But hey ho, we can't have it all, can we, Yutaka? So never mind. Well, on that note, that is the end of our review. We hope you enjoyed that. If you did, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. You can find all of our links down below in the description. We have got our links to the podcast, our links to our merch, our links to all of our social media. There's lots going on the channel. We do reviews like this. We do reactions. We do our normal podcast. We have guests, interviews. We have the Dracula series reviews. We've got so much going on. There tends to be at least 2 or 3 videos a week at this rate at the moment, which is really exciting. So do make sure to hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode, because you never quite know when we're going to pop up and scare you. So yeah, I'm scared. Yeah. I'm going to be scared tonight, going to bed. But yeah, that leaves us. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you guys next time. Bye.
You have been listening to the Horror Hour. See you next time.